Kazakhstan.
Mid. That's my favorite part. So, in case you didn't notice, here today,
Yes. Hello, everyone.
I tried to put close to each other.
We're close. Man, look at us. It
Yeah.
looks like we're a two-headed monster.
Well, I wanted to make sure you could.
Although
joke about
one of the
size my
heads,
head.
yeah,
I knew
exactly.
that was gonna, I wanted to cut that off before you had a chance. So one of the things Bob and I were arguing about, that if you that there's a countdown, and there were like 45 seconds left.
But that means Kazi is like off of the atomic clock or something.
Be the from Sarge resub 10 months. But yeah, if anybody believes
For 10 months in a row?
10 months in a row.
Scrum Sarge.
Scrum Sarge. He was cutting in it.
No. It is? How do you know that?
Gosh.
Josh.
Let
Agile
me get closer.
Biker. There he is.
Here, let me shrink Bob.
You're going to shrink me?
Okay, is that better? My audio better?
Definitely cutting
Dang
in.
it.
I didn't do anything. I don't know. Do you want to shoot? Do you want my mic?
Are we better? Tell me if we're better. Thumbs up if we're better.
Hello, everyone.
Oh my gosh.
This,
Okay, good. I'll just sit closer to the microphone.
This is Bob Galen coming to you from Kaziland.
Oh my gosh. Now everybody's deaf, Bob. Yeah, okay, Agile Biker. I get it. Take your cheap shots about me tweaking. Yes, I had to optimize it because we have a second.
A euphemism for tweaking is optimization. Oh.
Yeah, I was optimizing.
Yeah, you were optimizing.
I'm trying. Sorry, continuous improvement. That's a thing.
Hey, so yeah. Ryan. Hey, Ryan.
Yeah.
Scrum Sarge.
We got the big boys here.
We got the big boys, the crowd.
Yeah.
All right.
We need to like turn the cameras around on them because
I don't know if we have enough camera. We need a wide angle.
You're not gonna make any jokes.
I'm
Go
not.
Ahead. Go ahead.
No. The gravitas, the wide angle for
okay.
Right.
Okay.
The knowledge. I mean, for gosh sakes.
Yeah, Ryan, it's not normal that you're home.
What are we going to do? Go? Yes. Scrum Sarge. What are we going to talk about?
So we're going to talk about imposter. How to dig yourself out of a hole that you may have created for yourself. Wrestling with. I tell you how
I'm not. Yeah, but I mean, is it really a thing? I mean, I know everything, so I can't imposter anything. I mean, I am like the Wizard of Oz. Is that something?
Oh, it's a thing, Bob.
What is it? So what is imposter? I think I know what it is. Could you define it?
Will do my best. So I define imposter syndrome as that feeling that you don't really belong in that role, that you have this expectation that everybody knows it too. Not that you just don't feel like you belong there, but like you look around the table and you're like, holy crap, they know I'm an imposter. They know I've never done this before. They know I don't have all the answers. I'm freaking out. What am I supposed to do?
Right.
I'm supposed to have all of those answers. The thing that helped me was reading an article by Michael Cannon-Brooks, one of the founders, co-CEOs, where he talked about the imposter syndrome and was like, listen, me and my buddy built a company that at that point was $5 billion. I'm in these investor meetings. I'm looking around and like ask me a question and I have this pause, like asking me, like I'm not the guy there's some other expert out there that knows better than I do. Cutting in and out a lot.
I don't know. I mean, are people hearing me okay?
I didn't do anything. Here, I can make a tweet.
So everyone, if you can hear me, I put a video. The Atlassian co-founder that Josh was talking about, he has a 15-minute video on imposter syndrome, and I put that link in the chat. After the stream, go take a look at that. It's a really great video. Highly recommended.
Bob is fine. I wonder why Bob's fine and I'm not.
So Josh is working on the technologies.
I am. I'm doing the things.
So one of the things, I'll try to buy you some time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yesterday I was coaching someone in Australia. I do some coaching stuff, and he took a new job. Coach, Scrum Master, more Scrum Master than coach, but he's been doing coaching, and he just switched from a government job to to actually join an agile coaching firm as part of a team coaching a client. So the coaching firm hired him as a consultant, and this is a step up for him. So he's super excited about it. And then they plopped him in as part of a coaching team into this new client, and he's doing coaching at the team level, which he can do. But the imposter syndrome, he was talking clearly about it, is getting in his way. He's self-doubting himself a lot. And one of the things I shared, I don't know if it helped him or not, but I feel like I'm in imposter syndrome all the time. I'm winging things. So I've been coaching for 20 years or doing agile stuff for 20 years. And so I have experience, but I think there's almost like everyone, I guess the point I was trying to make to him, and I hope it helped him, is like we all have imposter syndrome. It's almost like it's sort of the norm. Now, maybe we have different degrees of it, but the real key is how do you handle it? The video from the Atlassian guy is like that. It's like he has it, but I think his key message is like, how do you respond to it? Do you work through it? Do you navigate through it, or do you allow it to freeze you? Right. So is it's a flight, it's a freeze, or it's just trust yourself enough just to move.
Right.
Even if you're moving in the wrong direction, moving in the wrong direction is better than being frozen by it, was what I was trying to say. And then if you have any experience at all, very often your spider sense is going to give, you're going to do okay. It's like the movement, and then your experience will come into play. And you know, 80% of the time, 90% of the time you'll do fine, even if it's something you've never done before. I mean, I told him I wing it all the time.
Yeah.
I pull weird things. I mean, I'm basing it on my experience, but probably 40% of my coaching is doing things that I meant, for the first time, or an idea comes up because it's so situational, and I have to fight through imposter syndrome. So are you good?
I don't know. I thought I was good before. I thought I was good when we started, but I don't know. I'm sure
Mug
Agile
Night?
Biker. Yeah, that's me.
That's you?
That's my other thing.
Okay.
And Techno Babble 222.
Cool.
With the resub for 8 months.
So I bought some time. So what do you think? I don't know. I think it's
what I
normal.
said and what I hope people heard, but maybe they didn't because of my audio issues, which I haven't figured out yet.
I'm sorry.
That doesn't help. It is the realization that everybody has it. Like, that's just a thing.
Yeah.
Maybe Tom Brady doesn't have it.
I bet
he might too. I don't know.
The co-founder, he's a freaking billionaire,
yeah.
Right? Of Atlassian. I'm just using it. I mean, he shouldn't have an imposter syndrome, right? He is. He built like a neat product, great company, right? Not perfect. Talks about it all the time,
right?
Right. So I think now maybe Tom Brady is the one. Exception, or Donald Trump is
right. Yeah, what I'm saying is there's like 5 people in the world that don't suffer from it.
Oh my gosh, Ryan Ripley. One often masquerades as the other. What do you mean by Dunning-Kruger? Oh, okay.
I don't get that reference. Do you?
I don't know. No, Ryan, help us out.
Yeah, you got to like you're speaking next level.
Like you can't just throw a Dunning and a Kruger at us and then expect us to sort of figure that out.
We aren't Dunning and Krugered yet.
Wait. We're Dunninged. We're just not Krugered. I was hoping to get Ryan to laugh.
Yeah. Let me guess. It's a book I haven't read.
Yes, it is. I have heard of it. I don't understand. I don't know if I connect to the reference.
Yeah. at least once every stream, somebody references a book or a paper or something that I haven't read.
What did Agile Biker? I really want to know the rest of the sentence from Bob. I pull weird things out of my, out of my ear.
Which is why I said, no, you don't, Scrum Sarge. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to know that. I do like Dunkin' Donuts and crullers.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a good.
They're crullers, right?
I say cruller.
Cruller.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Wow. Okay.
Dueler.
We need.
Duller.
Let's see. Agile Jamie Collins from the other side of the ocean.
Oh, that's true.
He often corrects my pronunciation.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to him. He's going to be the guy that tells us who's right and who's wrong. But I say cruller.
Oh, Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. People think they are better than they really are and then freak out when confronted with that. Okay, got it. There is a corollary there, I think. And I really resonate with that. I do think I am better than I am. Right.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think it.
You know it.
I know it,
Yeah.
baby. Absolutely. Don't
Like,
don't even try to burst my bubble.
In
I'll
the
go
marrow
crazy.
of your bones.
In the
you
marrow,
know.
my marrow knows more than than most people. What the hell was that?
I was trying to go as deep as possible. I couldn't leave anything deeper than bone marrow.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean back to imposter syndrome. I've actually thought about adding some of that to my Cal class, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Something on that, playing that video. I do think it's something from a leadership point of view. I think as you move up into leadership is a lot of leaders struggle with that as well. That's what I think. That was the Atlassian guy as well. It's not just skills, it's your role. It's the expectation people around you have based on your role. Like a CEO, folks have this expectation that a CEO should know everything. And that, I think that ratchets up. An agile coach is the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
From an agile point of view, you should you should know. Hold it a second, Bob Galen. You should know what Dunning-Kruger means. Damn it, I don't know what that means. Shh, crap. What am I going to do now?
But to me, that's the thing, is that as you get more responsibility, you feel this extra weight. It goes back to heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? Because that's it. Like, all of the eyes are going to turn towards you, and what are you going to do? They're expecting me to say something profound and not screw this up and do all those things.
Right.
So then you, like, there's this panic attack. And to me, the only thing you can do is any mental issue, be it a mental health or anything, is just accept that it's there and know it and try and work with it, not against it.
Right.
Like, there are so many things that are coming out around mental health and how people are working with it and using it, as opposed to having it become a challenge. They try and channel that. So know it's there and use it.
What are those things in the ocean when there's storms, rip currents or something?
Yeah.
Where a rip current, like, you can't swim against it.
Yeah.
You drown when you swim against it.
Right.
So you have to actually let it take you. You have to go with the flow, take it out, then go parallel to the shore and get out of it, and then swim in. Right. It would be. I like that analogy. And folks are uncomfortable with that. So it's like, just let yourself go with the flow. Let yourself go with the flow.
Unfortunately, like, I don't know that there's any magic trick. It's just kind of.
I mean,
you got to accept it.
I mean, there's
you
other
got to work
folks
with
here.
it.
Does anyone else, like Ryan, ever suffer from imposter? I'd love to. I mean, folks, to the degree that you're sort of comfortable, but I mean, I've had it. I sort of was transparent, right?
Yeah, to me, it's a. I don't think you ever escape it.
Agile biker,
Right? Like, if we go back to the fact that maybe there's a handful of people, like in the Tom Brady, LeBron. I bet LeBron has some imposter stuff going on
because of, like.
Right.
But again, I think it's relative. Like, people put him up on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Right. So it's that if you're a leader, the expectations around you, and then you can feel like, oh, I am an imposter.
Right.
I would imagine, absolutely. Oh my God, Ryan Ripley. So I seek out great mentors. Oh no. Well, at least in my case, you've dipped into the bottom of the barrel. So I don't know about that, but yeah, I think that the other thing. Now I want to piggyback off of what Ryan said. another way to fight through it is having sounding boards, having good collaborative friends like you and I. It helps to have someone that can inspire you, right?
Yeah.
Or to talk to. I think like bringing it to agile coaches, a lone wolf agile coach in an organization is a really hard thing. One of the you have no mentors or you can't pair with someone, and you can't have someone who can like help you not fight but float through imposter syndrome, right?
Well, and that's something
Find some mentors.
that as my career has evolved, there are fewer and fewer people that have done what I'm doing. So just the pool of support is smaller. So you end up kind of wandering, and then you find someone that you can latch onto, and you just stay in touch and help ask those questions. But Agile Biker, like, I totally get it. I can assure you, in early episodes of the Metacast, my imposter syndrome meter was pegged to the right. And the number one episode for me was the famous Waterfall Bob. Because I knew I didn't know as much as Bob, and Bob was just peppering me with questions, and I was nervous, I was unsettled, and I felt like every question that he asked, I gave the wrong answer because I hadn't been down the path as many times.
And you did, Grasshopper.
But it was one of those things where it just, again, I had this perception, and yeah, Bob had 1 million more years of experience. Yes, 1 million. He had just been down the path more than I had. So I had that situation going on.
999,000. No. I just, Technobabble talked about staying humble, but also and embrace your experiments. I just resonated with that. I was at a client earlier this week, and I was doing some leadership facilitation coaching in small leadership groups, and or whatever it was. But twice I asked permission to run an experiment. So I'm in a situation, I'm the facilitator coach, I'm supposed to know what the hell I'm doing.
Right.
My imposter syndrome comes up. My brain tells me you're out of your depth, you don't know what the hell you're doing. But then my spider sense kicked in, and I had like, maybe we could run an experiment. And I literally told that to the client, do I have your permission to can we run an experiment? So by definition, I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Right.
But can you trust me enough to go along with the flow? And both of those experiments worked out beautifully from my point of view, right? Maybe not the way I expected it, but it worked. But again, I was identifying that that I didn't know, or I was experimenting, or I was trying. So sometimes that'll help you through it. If you can just identify that, can we try this? Or I don't know, but that might be the language too. I don't know, never encountered this before, but I have an idea.
Right.
Could we try this?
Yeah.
And sort of that's the going through the flow of the imposter syndrome, I think. And I was just amazed that the outcomes worked pretty well.
Yeah.
Right. And I was very uncomfortable at the beginning, but even I went along with the experiment.
So we're going to keep digging in this subject, but if anybody has any other questions, post it in chat. And you've got an amazing group of coaches. You've got Bob and I in front of the camera, but everybody else that's here is pretty darn world class, right? So you're going to have a hard time finding a spot where you can come in, ask a question, and have a group of high-level coaches swarm around your problem. So number one, thanks to everybody for being here. This is an amazing situation to have everyone here. But we'll keep going on imposter syndrome until somebody puts something out on the table that they'd like to have tackled. So again, thanks to everybody for the resubs. It's super exciting to see that. And it's even more exciting to see the number of months that people have been around and having this discussion. So thank you all.
You've done well with this. I remember when you proposed. I have this. I was not a fan, was I? I was like,
you didn't want to do the podcast.
Yeah,
you were very reluctant about the podcast.
New technologies are not my friend. But I remember like getting on your case about this, thinking it was a stupid idea. But you've persevered, and it's the group.
Yeah.
The other thing here, it's the team, the group that sort of keeps coming back. Yeah,
that's the magic, right? It is definitely not me pontificating in front of a camera. The number of people that probably sign up for that is relatively low. It's all of you guys. So couldn't do it without you. Thank you very much. I will persevere through this audio issue. Hopefully it's not continuing. but I will figure it out. Right now, I'm blaming Bob. That's the variable.
It's my fault.
It's the variable, right? I don't know.
I'm
not
always
sure.
the variable.
Yeah.
Did we get any other questions? I'm going to look back. I'll look back in the stream and see if there's something.
I haven't seen any come through. Just
Kung Fu or come through?
come through.
Okay.
Speaking of Kung Fu, I was watching an interesting documentary on Netflix called Game Changers. And a image, I'm going to pull it up on my phone. I actually took a picture of the screen with my phone. Bruce Lee, there were a couple quotes from him, and I was like, that's like super agile. Like, I never thought of him as being such an agile person, but as I think back to the way he evolved his approach to martial arts, he kind of built his own. He pulled bits and pieces from various sources. So let's see. He said, research your own experience, absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, add what is specifically your own. So, like, how more lean or agile do you get than
Absolutely.
that? And, you know, that was...
I've been using a quote from him, but I think it's probably he borrowed it. But the empty your cup to fill your cup thing, that you have to, in order to learn, you have to empty your cup.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of that, you know, one of the reasons like we're stuck is we get stuck is we're stuck with our baggage. It doesn't, you know, it won't work. It's never worked. I don't see that working that way, or it won't work here, right? Agile works there, but it doesn't work here. A lot of times we've not emptied our cup to like learn, right? And I talk about this in a leadership class a lot. Like you have to like get rid of your baggage and then relearn. And I think that's important. I think that's part of imposter syndrome is like,
Yeah.
you know, let go of the past. Just empty yourself and figure things out.
Yeah,
right?
well, let's speak about imposter syndrome directly here. Kraz457, who now spends 3 days a week with me, has been inviting me to the dojo so he could beat me up. Like, I would walk in there and imposter syndrome would be high. I do not belong here. I am going to get my ass kicked. Like, this is bad news. It's
But
all
you're big.
I know.
But that would you'd get your big ass kicked.
Yeah. You know, the whole thing, the bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Oh, that's true.
That would,
yeah.
That would come into harsh reality very, very quickly. Yeah. Kind of like when you wanted to do sumo.
I did want to do sumo. You know, I had it. So I think that I on Amazon, I found a sumo outfit. It was about $800 or $900 for a pair of sumo outfits, those blow up outfits. And I had it in my shopping cart on Amazon for a while, and I just deleted it. And it was just waiting to be like buy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I didn't let it go. I've held on to the false hope that we could sumo and I could win. I know I couldn't, but
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
no.
I mean, let's talk
I probably couldn't get a suit big enough for you as well.
Okay, there's that.
The cheap shot.
But, I mean, you've had joints replaced, Bob.
I know. And I can barely walk sometimes. I know. You know what it is, Josh? Maybe there's like reverse imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like the way I think of myself up here is one thing, and then the reality is another. You know that?
Yeah.
Like I think of myself as a svelte 30-year-old who still can run, you know, who probably weighs like 60 pounds less or something like that, right? My mental image of myself is way different than the reality, I think.
Yeah, the mental image of myself is quickly moving towards reality.
Yeah, isn't it?
I mean, lately.
But there's always a
Yeah.
disconnect, I found, right? Yes, it's a sliding window, but, you know, now that I'm 60-something, I still think of myself as a 40-something, but I'm not.
Yeah.
So yeah, that sumo challenge was related to me thinking of myself as a 40-something. Yeah, but then you gave me a good dose of reality.
I just didn't want to hurt you, Bob.
I didn't want to be hurt, Josh.
It's like
So independent of how I view myself, I didn't want to be hurt either.
yeah, there was no good that was going to come out of that. Okay, so we haven't any questions. If you're new, we got a few more people that have dropped in. This is your opportunity to basically ask any question. You do have a group of ready, willing, and able coaches to help tackle anything. We've even had like high school kids come in here and
why
ask
don't we
questions.
bring up the Metacast topic and see how people respond to it?
Would you be curious about their response?
I would be very curious.
You would? Well, go ahead.
So everyone, Josh and I did a Metacast recording before the stream, and the topic, we're not going to get into it. We'll see how you guys respond to it, but was about curiosity and really amplifying like approaching everything with much more curiosity. So if there's a continuum of judging versus or predetermining things or having positions versus being curious and engaging teams or engaging leaders, and again, Agile's sort of the overview here. Josh and I were talking about that having that curiosity stance and emphasizing that more and more has become our friend, or we're getting a lot of traction out of emphasizing curiosity. What do you guys think? Ryan said, yeah, Ryan, that's exactly, it suppresses judgment. It's like an entry thing. The other thing we were talking about, Ryan, is energy. Like we were talking about judgment has sort of a down energy and curiosity has an up. Or if judgment has a closing, if energy is closing, right, negative or closing, then curiosity is an opening energy, a positive energy. And that the energy, and it could be the energy between Josh and I, or it could be the energy in a room during a retrospective. We did talk about the retrospective being sort of a key event.
Yeah.
To sort of, that could potentially really allow you to exercise curiosity. Any reactions to that?
So
I'm curious to see if anyone
Agile
responds.
Biker. So Agile Biker, kind of, we went in a spree of chat messages there. He threw out of struggling why folks would want to hear from me. That was something that when I was trying to break into the conference speaking realm, that I was looking for this like earth-shattering thing I could put in front of people, because I was just Josh, right? I wasn't Bob Galen yet. I hadn't gotten there yet where people wanted to hear me. Like Bob, the weirdest thing happened after the Red Hat discussion. Like somebody came up and wanted to take a selfie with me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How cool is
like
that?
That was like, okay, sure. Like I was totally caught off guard. So that was a new experience.
Did they have a wild angle lens?
They did. They had to stand way back.
Okay.
But that person came to hear me talk, and the thing, what I was talking about, didn't really matter.
That's cool.
Yeah, which was cool. But rewind 8 years ago, I was just a dude.
Yeah.
Right. And what I did was I went to more and more conference talks and just watched and listened. And there are so many people that just need help, and they need someone to reach out and put a topic out there and answer a question, kind of like this stream, and somebody that's willing to help, somebody that's willing to take the time.
Yep.
People value that. So by taking the time to put a talk together and to deliver it, people value that because you're investing in them. So that don't expect that you have to have this like mind-changing thing where people are going to walk out of that with this like, my mind is blown, I got to call my mom because I got to rethink everything, right? Like that's not what people are looking for. People are looking for somebody to just help.
I've done program chair. I've coached. I volunteer to coach people. Like there's these groups that do new voices coaching for someone who wants to get into the speaking business. That young man in Australia, at the end of our coaching hour, he was talking about the same thing. That to me is probably, for me, is one of the most common imposter syndrome statements I hear. Is that so someone would like to share, they're enthusiastic or passionate about something, but they're like, no one wants to hear from me.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably, I hear that like all the time, and that's probably the most glaring case of imposter syndrome. And you just have to fight through it. I mean, I try to provide advice. It's like your voice, there's no answer to it, but I usually like, no, yes, maybe they've heard the topic before, but they've never heard Josh Anderson's version of the topic.
Right, yeah.
Right? They've never heard that. They've never, your experience is unique, your style is unique, and you just have to sort of, and like you did, you started, so it's not like you get through it. You fight through it,
mm-hmm.
you speak, and you do it again,
mm-hmm.
you see if you like it, but then you also get feedback.
Right.
like you're serving, like that, you know, the selfie with someone is like icing on the cake,
Yeah,
right?
right.
It's like, it's that confirmation, or people reaching out to you from the stream as confirmation. But I think everyone has that. I had the same thing. I remember back, like no one would ever, and then I had this epiphany, and it's like, I really don't give a shit. I like speaking. Let me try it. All right. I mean, almost to myself,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm like, you know, shut up. And I
Yeah.
just like smack my head, and it's like, let's go. But the other thing is just telling your stories. The other thing is don't try to be someone else, but be you and tell your stories your way and see what happens.
Yeah.
You've been genuine.
I've tried.
Ryan is genuine. I mean, a lot of, I think the better speakers, you don't try to, you're not faking it. You're not trying to be someone else. You just be yourself. You just walk up there and be yourself.
And you find your voice.
Yeah.
Like that was the thing. The talks I gave 8 years ago are very different than the talks I give today, and they're different than how Bob gives a talk. Bob's different. You know, I can remember the very first time I ever talked, and I was like I was the warm up act for Bob, and Bob and I just approach things differently, and that's okay. Scrum Sarge, I totally agree that so many talks are about the basics, and that's the entry point, right? Talk about the basics, but put your spin on it. Okay, so I want to go back to Kraz 457.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch up with that.
To me, part of this is you understanding and being patient with yourself and understanding the challenge of adopting a new habit. So you're trying to build this new habit of, I am going to respond in a curious manner and not quickly lash out. And the thing I always say is there's no Kraz.config where I can go and change curiosity and ramp it up to an 11, right? I can't go change that variable from 0 to 11. It's got to go to a 1 and then a 2 and then a 3. It's a progression. So I think the only thing that I found to create success for me is keeping it at the front of the mind and keep trying to get better in every situation and being retrospective about that discussion and thinking about it and thinking, could I have done better? What would I have done differently? And then trying to make those little changes along the way.
I think Kraz also, I mean, I was saying this yesterday. I'm like, don't react. So and I think you and I were talking about maybe our default posture is judgment over curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
So if we immediately react, then I go to my common ground, which is judgment potentially, or emotional.
Mm-hmm.
But if I just take a pause, and if I recenter, so sometimes we feel like we have to react right away or defend or whatever.
Right.
But if I can mentally be more present, if I can be self-aware, if I can be aware of my triggers, and if I can just take a pause and recenter, and then sort of agree that I'm going to then come out with curiosity, that pause can really help prevent those reactions, if you know what I mean. I don't think there's a magical time frame for it, but I've been trying to sort of, and I'm really bad at this. Probably I got a lot of experience. People expect me to immediately have answers, so it's really hard, as you know. It's really hard for me to shut up, even for brief instances. Like if you have a question, the minute you take a breath, I want to be there, but sort of just let it like flow.
Yeah.
I wonder if that helps a little bit more.
And I actually had a talk with somebody this week where we were just talking about the difference in how we handle those crucial conversations. And the statement I made, because they're like, you're very deliberate and slower about those discussions. And I said, yes, because I found when I'm not effective at all. In fact, I make it worse.
So slow down,
Yeah.
maybe. But yeah, see, I resonate.
But it gets hard because sometimes in those moments, if you leave a gap, like someone's going to jump in.
Absolutely.
You know? So it's like you feel like you got to it's like you're playing tennis and you got to hit it back just as hard as the other person hit it back to you. When in reality, just kind of take a break. It's okay. The world's not going to end if you don't speak for a couple of seconds and collect and respond as effectively as you can.
Yeah. That's working with my curiosity, right? So be self-aware and be more present in that, and just slow down.
Yep. All right. I am willing to provide feedback. In fact, I didn't chance to. I wanted to give you some feedback this week, and I didn't get a chance to. The storm came in. I like ran out of the office yesterday because family was freaking out because it was trick or treat, and we do it on Halloween night, and there was a storm coming, and there was major concern, especially from my 10-year-old, that we were not going to get to trick or treat.
Yeah.
Who, just FYI, as we were driving to school, he was practicing his trick or treat.
Really?
Yeah. And he's like, Dad, I got to practice my trick or treat. So he was like saying it differently.
Aw.
Trick or treat, trick or treat.
No,
trick or treat.
really?
And then he got to, he was like, okay, I got it, Dad. I'm ready.
Aw.
So,
Aw.
dude, you've lost your mind. But yeah, he was
He's got
very
a different
excited.
set of priorities.
Oh yeah. Oh, at 10. Oh yeah, priorities. You know what's funny with him is on the weekends he wakes up earlier than he does during the week because he knows it's the weekend and he's got time. It's his day.
So he grabs the time.
He's up at like we wake him up at 6:30 for school,
Yeah.
and he's dragging butt. But we'll like wake up and see him up and rolling doing his thing at 5:30 on a
Because
Saturday.
it's his day, right?
Yeah, it's his thing, and he's
Oh.
like he's gonna make the most of it. Yeah, he's got priorities. All right, so we need content here, folks. We are here for you. We have Bob, the Wizard Galen,
No. We have you have Josh,
at your disposal.
the Poobah Anderson.
Yeah, I am the Poobah. You're the wizard.
the Weasel Man.
No, we've discussed this.
I just have to weave that in every once
You're
in a
the
while.
weasel.
I am the Weasel. What were you?
I was the dolphin.
Oh, you were the dolphin, weren't you?
Yeah, which you really didn't like.
I embrace the weasel. I'm okay. I'm
Yeah.
okay being a weasel.
Yeah, the agile weasel.
The
You know, I've been thinking.
I'm scared now. You have that twinkle in your eye. Go ahead.
So you have adopted the agile moose.
I have adopted the agile moose.
And I've been toying around with the concept of adopting the agile wolf.
Really?
Yeah.
And give me the backstory.
So the backstory is it was one of my first coaching gigs, and it was like the third or fourth, and I just had this really and they were all the same, and not the same, but like they were all hard. They were all tough situations. Yep. And I just realized, okay, like you don't call Bob or Josh or some of the folks that are on this stream if everything's okay. It's like in Pulp Fiction when you call in the wolf.
Oh.
I don't know if you remember that scene when they accidentally shoot the guy in the back of the car and it's a mess and they don't know what to do.
Yep.
And they go to that guy's house and they call the wolf, and the wolf knocks on the door and they're like, oh, you called the wolf, and like everything's going to be okay. Like I really liked that thought, that branding.
Not only
of,
do
yeah.
Are you going to do something with that idea?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I like the Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to do it and use it and
not
market
scare the
it.
crap out of everyone with the
And not get in trouble.
with the brains on the back window and stuff like that, right? You don't
we
want
don't, we don't need that.
disconnect from the brain.
We don't need that.
I like that. I'm happy with my moose. I mean, whatever it is, but I wish I wouldn't have. I wish I would have branded myself that way years ago.
So I picture you as a moose. Like, have you ever seen those videos of a moose like chest deep in snow?
Yeah.
Just like plowing through,
Yep.
like it's not even
Oh,
slowing
that's a
it
nice-
down.
oh.
Like I feel like that. Like
I need that as a marketing thing.
like that's Bob.
The moose plow.
Yeah.
Because it is hard.
The moose plow.
It is hard. It is hard.
But like you're just rolling through, and it doesn't slow you down at all.
We have some stuff coming in. We got to catch up.
So Arch Pendragon.
Are the devs aligned on this? Oh, so what? We lost it. What are your release patterns?
So his question was around best ways to handle version control for larger companies ranging from 10 to 50 developers. My default answer is Git of some flavor using the Git flow paradigm or whatever that approach is. I found that to be the best way to manage that. Now there's a lot of debate going on right now about the mono repo versus individual repos for everything that goes along with it. Like microservices are the thing now. So there are people, and this is what I did in the past, is every service had its own repo, and you did git flow within each of those. But there is a growing contingent, kind of, it's almost like Ryan Ripley and his no estimates. It's like there's a small but vocal group out there that's talking about the mono repo being the answer. So that,
did you just drop a Ripley quote?
I did
Yeah.
Riplify.
You did Riplify that.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
That's the thing. But it is that same kind of thing. Like Ryan's part of this group out there that's like no estimates.
Oh, I know.
And you really should do it.
I think he's moved on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't know what, but he's not as passionate.
Oh.
No, he had his moment.
Wow.
I think he's moved on.
Is that true, Ryan?
If he's still there.
Yeah, if you're still there, give us a thumbs up or thumbs down on that. But it's this group that very passionately believes that the mono repo is the right way to go. Like one repo to rule them all. That's the way to tackle it. So I don't know if that's the direction you were going, Arch. Hopefully it is. If it isn't, feel free to provide a little clarification, and I will do my best to help out in any way that I can. Also, if anybody else has thoughts or opinions, fire away.
You inspired me. So I didn't understand anything you said. Like, I don't know what a repo is.
Yeah.
I sort of know what a microservice is at a high level.
Yeah.
So I'm like a dinosaur. I go back to, are you checking in on trunk or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
So is git flow sort of how we're handling?
Git flow is like a branching model.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
That's
so
what I would guess.
there's a handful.
So now I understand branching.
Yeah. So there's, because with Git, branches are kind of like free.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different ways that people
but they're
can
not free, right?
from a space. From
a space point of view. Yeah.
So that has been one of those things that get changed, is that branching became free. So people started branching like crazy. So then these different branching models became a way of life, and people had different opinions on the best way to do branching and to manage that.
So I resonate with that.
Yeah.
So that's just Git language to talk about branching strategies, is it? And is it in the lifespan?
Yeah.
And how do you merge strategies, branch
right.
strategies?
So the theory around Git flow is it's very short-lived branches,
Yeah.
and you're working off main or trunk
as much as
much as possible, but everything is a branch because
okay.
because
so I get it. I
yeah.
just didn't. I'm not hip to the language.
Yeah, but like a place where I've been at of late, Team Foundation Server was the solution that they were using, and branches were very expensive.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't branch more than X number of times, or else they were going to run out of space.
Oh, okay. All right.
So a Git flow branching model using Team Foundation Server just was ineffective.
Okay.
So then moving to Git, then you're able to create branches kind of willy-nilly, but then that also creates some anti-patterns in that now we've got branches freaking everywhere.
Yep. I'm just catching up. Cool.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm catching up on Archie's response here. Okay. Yeah, I don't spend a lot of time and energy on like version numbers. I think most of the complexity and things that require good versioning have been abstracted away because of many of the tools that are out there. So I default to what Ryan said, and that master is your latest version. That's what gets deployed. That's what goes. And version numbers kind of don't matter anymore. Now, maybe if you're a desktop app or something like that, then that's a thing. But those are becoming less and less common, to where the only thing that versions matter for is like if you're a mobile app and it figures out, do I need to update or not? Things like that. So I would try and simplify as much as you can, Arch. Like, I had to reread that paragraph that you typed in a couple times to try and wrap my head around the approach you're taking. And the question I would ask you is, what value do you guys get out of that complexity? If there's something that I don't understand because I don't have the context about that complexity provides value and enables you to do something,
Right.
then keep doing it. But I question if that's a vestige of the way we used to do things, and now it doesn't matter anymore. That maybe you can do away with some of the complexity there.
There was that old adage. Again, I'm dated, but there was, and maybe this was philosophy from an agile point of view has changed, but it was like work off of trunk.
Yeah.
So, and everyone checks into trunk, and we keep trunk. So we have so few branches, short-lived branches, keep trunk good, and if you break trunk, fix trunk. And
yeah.
and there was that was the agile configuration management view for a long time. Now,
Yeah.
then folks started getting into and then Git came out, and folks started getting
Yeah.
into like feature branches, and there was a big debate on, do I spin off feature branches and things like that, and how long do they live, or story branching. So it started looking like the branching strategy looked like your backlog to some degree. But I wonder, and the only reason I'm saying it is there still the sound strategy of keeping keeping it simple and working off of trunk, even in large teams.
Yeah, so,
I remember like hundreds of people. It was unwieldy. It requires discipline. So it was simple and it required discipline.
Yeah. Some of the complexity, which is this is where we ran into. It sounds like Arch is kind of wrestling with the same thing in the microservices world. You had all these services that interact together, and there's a lot of dependencies across it, and a new version. So, for those of you that are in the JavaScript world, there's the package.json that represents all of the npm packages that you're using and all of the dependencies that are there and the various chains that need to happen. So if Arch is in the world where you've got all these individual repos that say there's a notification service that sends emails or something, and fundamentally changing that affects all of these other upstream apps or upstream services, that's where complexity gets in. But what we ended up doing was we did the best we could to model after a package.json and build in service discovery. So that way we could have a config that said this service depends on these services.
So it would self-identify dependency maps and things like that.
Right. So it could say, for me to work,
Right.
these things have to be running, and they have to be at least this version, or they require this version. So we had to build some of that same stuff in there to enable that to work, because we were trying to manually keep track of it, and it got out of control. So Arch, if you're still in that world where you're trying to manually control those dependencies, what we had to do was we had to build some infrastructure to enable us to do some self-discovery for those services and validate it. And there's so many package management models out there now that we just tried to model it after that. Yeah, I think once you get into the bureaucracy that's wrapped around some of those version numbers, that's challenging. But like Technobabble says, right, you're going to have to, I think if you can invest in trying to tear down some of those walls, it might make your life a bit more simpler.
Exactly.
Yeah, mobile devices. I've been there, Arch. Mobile is a challenging space, but it is the space of the future. Not forget the future. It's the space right now. Right? It's the future is here. So yeah, custom devices. I'm kind of intrigued / scared by what those custom devices are. I bet you're like in the medical space and there's like custom devices or something like that. That's my guess. AKA silly wild ass guess. I'm full of those.
You are full of something.
Full of what, Bob?
Wisdom.
What exactly? What is
wisdom?
Really?
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gave me that look, that challenge look, and I hit you right between the eyes with wisdom.
Yeah.
And that stopped you right in your tracks,
You
didn't
did.
it?
I was caught off guard by that.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been Arch spending most of my not so free time in the React Native world trying to Trying to get that. Powerful questions at work indeed, my friend. Powerful questions. Yeah, I think Archie would be interesting to understand, or just really for you to think through that bureaucracy that Technobabble and Kraz have kind of teased out. That do you really need that? I would take a good hard look and see if some of that red tape is really necessary, or if it's just legacy stuff. And so often we have bigger problems to go solve, and it's just some of those things that hold us back indirectly lie around longer than they should. So that's one of those things that
So
maybe,
versioning builds it. I think we attack that like it has this tendency to balloon up in complexity, or we
Yeah.
allow architecture
Yeah,
complexity
it does.
to balloon out.
Yep.
And it may feel uncomfortable, but I think as anyone, as coaches, team members, we should put as much simplicity pressure on that as we can.
Yeah.
And there's going to be resistance to that. I hope I'm making sense. But that's an area across organizations. I mean, I've heard this gazillions of times. Oh, I mean, you can't simplify it. This is just,
Yeah.
this has this inherent complexity. And I don't buy that crap.
No.
I really don't.
You know, one of the agile coaches I worked with that was really good at it, and I've said this probably a bazillion times, is he would just ask us, what problem is that solving?
Yeah.
So, Arch, I think if you go in there and you just ask the question of what problem do these version numbers solve? And maybe they explain it. It's like, oh, okay, cool, I get it. Or maybe it takes people some time to think about it, and maybe they come back a half hour or maybe a couple days later and say, gosh, it doesn't really solve anything. We're just kind of doing it to do it. Like
Yeah.
it's part of our inertia, part of the momentum we have of the things we do. So that's one of those things. Oh man. Oh my gosh. Agile biker referencing things I don't know.
What did he say?
Yet again, the Kubler-Ross grief cycle.
I think that was done by Triumph, right? That was a version of Triumph motorcycles done in like the 50s, late 50s, and introduced up to the mid 70s.
Yeah, the
Wasn't it?
Technobabble. We have gone next level here, way over my head.
The grief cycle.
Oh, Bob.
Because the seat was
Bob,
very uncomfortable.
Bob,
That's what caused the grief.
Bob, you got to respond to that last question from Arch Pendragon.
What? Are there ever cases where Agile isn't ideal for some companies? Yes, Arch. Yes. I mean, I don't even think there's. I mean, is the leadership team ready? Is it technology ready? There's a myriad of reasons. I think they're less technical and more cultural. So to me, technical things can be overcome. Staff things, the teams are less of a challenge. It would be more so leadership structure. One of the things to look at is the Kubler Elf, the Keebler Elf model.
Yeah.
No, a grief model. No,
Yeah.
I'm just being a smartass. What is it? The Laloo. So an example is there's a Laloo cultural model that has colors like amber and orange are traditional cultures, and green and teal are more agile centric cultures. And one reason, if you go into an organization, for example, and if you identify the leadership culture or the general culture as being orange amber, then that's not a real fertile place to instantiate agile. It's not that they can't do it, but then the leadership and the culture would have to immediately start shifting. It's not just train the teams and make them agile.
Mm-hmm.
So culture comes into play, leadership comes into play, so people come into play.
Yeah, I mean, there's a willingness there. It's not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So
Arch, everyone. I've come across a few folks that want to implement Agile because it's cool or the new. That's my. I mean, that's usually what I read an article, and Agile is the cool thing.
Mhm.
Or our new investor wants us.
I have lived that.
Yeah,
Whoa.
our brand new investor who's given us a lot of money wants us
Yeah.
to realize that success is Agile. I think so. The short answer is that's sort of the table that we get dealt most of the time. Yeah. I think folks have to have the courage to have conversations around, are you ready for it or not?
Yeah.
Are you there or not?
Well, and you as a coach have told companies you shouldn't do this.
Yeah. Not every coach does.
Right.
I mean, we've had a Medicast where I interviewed for an agile coaching job at a firm, and a coaching firm, a really successful coaching firm, and they who provide lots of agile coaches. And I asked them if they've ever walked away from business. That was my one question. He gave me one question to ask in the interview, and that was my one question. Well, under what circumstances would you say no and walk away from a client? And he didn't have any. And I was like, cool, that's great. Thank you very much. And I pressed him on it, so he never called me back, and I wouldn't have taken the job anyway.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, come on, you have to be willing, and it's not negative. It's not. I'm not being adversarial. I think we have to. Not everything is an agile candidate. We got to, stay where you're at. The other thing I usually do is if they ask, it's like, well, what's the gap? I'll give them feedback. Well, here's 3 areas that you need to work on. In my humble opinion, here's some free coaching. You probably, you don't want to go agile now, but if you work here, here, and here, that might get you in a state where it would be more successful. And give them advice.
Yeah. So, Kraz, your question about technical or architectural reasons that agile methods wouldn't fit. I think it would make it more difficult. Think about some of those baseline things that enable agile to work well.
So dependencies come to mind.
Yeah.
Like I work with IT teams that have like 2,000 applications that have no integration. So there's no shared components. There's no service-oriented architecture, or very fragmented, or something. That doesn't mean you can't. My default answer is I actually think the people challenges are the reason why I would say don't go agile, or the cultural challenges or the leadership challenges would be the ones that I would deflect people away from. The technical stuff, I don't know if that's an auto no. I think if you have the right mindset, you can attack the technical issues and sort that out over time. Do you know what what I'm saying?
I think we're centering in, and Technobabble's kind of hitting it as well. I think something that you could look at, Arch, is adopting an agile mindset. So those Bruce Lee quotes that I brought in, that doesn't say anything about a methodology of how you build software. It's about how you inspect and adapt the processes that you use to work. It doesn't say do Scrum. It doesn't say do 2-week sprints. It doesn't say do any of that. It doesn't say automate things. It says, pay attention to what you're doing, get rid of the things that don't work, try new things, and pay attention to yourself and get better, right? So that's a mindset that works, that builds continuous improvement. I think that applies anywhere and everywhere. Now, there's a culture that needs to be in place to support it, but I think oftentimes Agile gets labeled with like the big A, and it becomes a process and not a mindset. So I expect, which is where I assume Technobabble's going, that an Agile mindset would be beneficial. Maybe not big A Agile the process, given some of the constraints that you may have. So Arch, maybe what you've landed on is the right answer for you guys, right? Maybe that version of Agile is what's appropriate for you.
So Arch, the last thing, but we never had any of the higher ups adopting it.
Yeah, that's
or understanding. I mean, I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm sort of talking about. It's not just a team play. Leadership has to evolve. Management has to evolve. Metrics have to evolve. It's not just a team play. And I think it's those upper level things that either can create success or failure more than the technology stuff. I mean, if we're agile and we empower technical teams to solve their problems, technical teams typically can figure stuff out if we give them the space and time.
Yeah.
Like build systems, automation, writing automation. It's not the hard challenge sometimes is not the automation framework or the tooling selection. It's the business giving the team 20% of their backlog to actually write automation. It's like no one's creating the space. They want it for free. The business wants it for free when the team is desperately looking for automation coverage.
Yeah.
That's not a technical challenge. That's a human being investing and understanding, effective development strategies and things like that.
Yeah. I think that higher ups not adopting it, that's probably the most common reason for Agile struggles.
And deeply. I mean, a lot of they say they understand it. I'm talking about their behavior.
Yeah.
Right. Their actions and their behavior align with Agile principles.
Yeah, I think Kraus 457 has lived that very painfully. Having spent time with him, I know that's been some struggles that he's had where
what's
heads
our time box?
Heads were nodding.
What's our time box, Josh?
Typically an hour.
Okay.
But I mean, it's okay.
I don't want to rush us.
Okay.
I'm just pointing it out.
Okay. Thank you. I've got an eye on the clock.
Okay.
It's all right. We're okay, Bob. Are you going to turn into a pumpkin? Like, do you turn into a pumpkin at noon?
No.
Midnight?
Are you calling me a pumpkin?
I asked.
Are you talking to me?
I asked if you turn into a pumpkin.
Don't make me undelete those sumo outfits.
Oh man, we're rolling now. Oh my goodness gracious.
We are. I'm
Executive
trying to catch up.
dynamics.
I think Arch, it's leaders maybe having or not having the right information, but also the right mindset. So I can be a leader, I can be Waterfall Bob, and you can give me all oodles of data, and I will interpret it in a waterfall fashion, and I will react accordingly to that. So all I'm trying to get at is leadership mindset. I think matters as well. Leadership understanding of system dynamics matters as well. I really do, because we can look at the data and interpret it in order to support our mindset. And I see that over and over again. So data, yes, but I can give a waterfall minded leader all of the data, to talk about limiting WIP, and they're not going to limit the WIP potentially, right? I can just shove data, at them. I think I need them to be on board. I think I need them to be open minded. I think I need them to be changing their sort of rules of the game.
Yep. Yeah, that's a challenge. I've seen a lot of companies where leadership dynamics, and it's almost like the executives need to have a hard conversation that they're not having, or somebody needs to have a hard conversation with the executives and be like, okay, folks, like this is not working. This is bad. So yeah, that's a common issue. Technobabble, you asked, or not Technobabble, Arch, upstream, you asked about testing harnesses and testing automation. I think it's dependent upon language. One of the things to be aware of is the pyramid, the testing pyramid, to make sure that you're investing in automation in the right places and not over investing in front end automation, because that becomes very expensive to build and maintain. So invest more heavily in unit tests, and then as you go upstream into integration and UI tests, have fewer of them, but make sure they're all supporting each other. So it is very technology dependent, but regardless of the technology you choose, do some reading around that testing automation pyramid and make sure you're not inverted or a square.
Arch, if you send an email to me, I'll put my email. I'll send you a PDF copy of a colleague of mine. We've written a book on Agile-centric, the 3 pillars of Agile quality and testing. And it has some information in there about automation strategies in the pyramid that Josh was talking about. So I'll send you a free copy if you reply. It's just send me the request. Okay?
And you're putting your email in the chat?
Yeah.
I think it'll let you do that. Okay, yep, there it does. Okay, cool. Yeah, Arch, you are not alone. There are many, many folks that live in that realm where there's an executive that reads something on an airplane or Starbucks and comes back and says, hey, this is what we should do. But Agile Biker's kind of he's leaning in the right direction. It really does boil down to, can you have that crucial conversation, the fierce discussion, the radical candor? Pick your book. Can you have that discussion with that person? Will they receive it, and will they process it? And I hope they do.
Well, the other measure I want to make sure I don't know if I've said it. It's not what they've read. It's not the books. It's not your conversations. It's how they're behaving. So the ultimate measure of, is your leader getting it, is nothing on the front side. It's like outcomes or behavior. Measure their behavior, and then you are not done with your conversations until their behavior starts changing its trajectory, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's true in general, I think. So that's not measure how many articles they've read or how many letters are after their name or anything like that. It's where's the behavior go.
Right. And you said something really good in there that I want to call out. Make sure you know it's going to take time. You're not going to walk in and have one conversation with that executive and have them walk out and say, you know what, Arch, you're right. We're going to change everything. You're going to plant a seed. You have to water it. You have to give it sun, maybe some fertilizer. You have to continually invest in helping that thing grow, and that tide will turn. So don't walk in expecting one talk's going to do it.
Ryan points out really good, or you can ask a question that reveals the outcome. Again, this goes back to curiosity that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Just go in there and just be curious, and then ask some open questions like Ryan's talking about, and then be willing to speak truth to power, but incrementally do it. Maybe from a stance, again, truth to power from curiosity. Oh, I hear you, but did you know that's not really the way to measure an agile team? This is a better way. Have you ever heard of this? And really have just curious dialogues and sort of partner with them on the journey.
Yeah.
I think my language sometimes, I'm too adversarial sometimes in my language. I hope I'm not that way. I can be.
You know what's funny is there's times when you do and you preface it. Like you'll say, I'm not picking.
Yeah, and I...
but you're picking.
Yeah. I need to
like
watch
that,
my
yeah.
language
Yeah.
a little bit. And I think I soften in the real world some. And part of that is quiet can help me there. Again, it's that pause and centering that can help. But I can be too... And so again, that's that sort of that notion of being curious is also a softer entry posture, right? A non-judgmental posture.
Yeah, to me, I think you're getting a lot of good information from a lot of folks here, Arch. I wouldn't walk in. So listen to the episode that Bob and I just talked about with curiosity. Try and I think it was Ryan that asked, like, what is this person after? Like, what problem are they trying to solve with Agile?
And
like,
curious, empathy, get in their head, don't overreact right away. Maybe have another conversation, sit on what you heard them say, consider their body language when they were talking to you about it. You don't have to, maybe have several conversations around that. Really digest what you're hearing and seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, I shouldn't. Ryan just like broke the internet. Said you shouldn't propose on the first date. I got to rethink my life now.
I did that with my first wife. Oh, and then we got divorced. Maybe that wasn't the right strategy. I don't know. Maybe that was the root cause.
I think my wife's parents had some ridiculously short dating cycle. I think it was like 2 months, and they were like engaged, and they've been together forever, and that's not changing. It's crazy. But yeah,
there used to be so the dating cycle used to be much shorter. I think, right? Or the pre-commit cycle.
Well, it was funny. I was talking to my mom, and we were talking about my daughter, who's 15, and boyfriends and stuff like that. And she's like, "Man, when I was a kid, my mom was like hurrying me to get married.
Yeah,
she's like, you need to hurry up and get married. Like you need to go do that." And it was like just the pressure of that, man. Yeah. So Arch, again, there's hey, we've read the books, we've checked the things off. Is that changing behaviors holistically within the company? Are people, especially the leaders, modeling that behavior that is happening in those books? If so, cool, you're going in the right direction. But that might be one thing to ask, like, hey, what are we getting out of reading these books if people aren't actually implementing them?
Well, and actually have the conversation. It might be a little risky, truth to power, and say, but pick one crucial conversation. So the conversations, and then circle back around and say, you know what can we do a refresher, because we're really not having them. Or radical candor, but we're overzealous in our radical. So we have downward radical candor, but we're not receiving upward radical candor, or whatever, and not flame them on that. But can we reread the book, and can we practice upward radical candor in some way organizationally? But pick one thing, and just sort of, again, patience, iterativeness, relentlessness in trying to improve that curve.
So I want to, like, we can't let Scrum Sarge slide by with that. What did he say? Just shared, met his wife in September, bought a ring at Thanksgiving, proposed before Christmas, and got married in February. That is amazing. Like, how do you just coordinate all of those things?
And Scrum Sarge, I have one other question. Was there a Gantt chart with appropriate milestones associated with that path?
I feel like that's some sort of inside joke.
No, I don't know.
No?
I'm wondering if there was I wonder if it was planned, even in some Microsoft project way. Come on, please. So just a yes or no. I'm thinking there were some milestones there.
Is there a Microsoft project thing?
Yeah.
Microsoft project is like evil.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch up.
The marital Gantt chart. There you go.
The marital Gantt chart.
You know,
exactly.
There's a product owner that I work with, that I've worked with a couple times, and she's fantastic. She was engaged and getting married, and she came into work one day so excited to show me the Agile board that she had for her wedding.
Oh, really?
And she had the backlog in order. She had things in progress.
No way.
She had dependencies. She had it all, and she was so happy, so proud, and she was like, "You have no idea how happy this makes me and how effective it really is."
It is effective. Yeah. I tried to sell my daughter Rhiannon when she was planning her marriage on Scrum, and trying to get her to read my product owner book and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, I really wanted her to do the wedding, and Ryan would have been proud. And it was an opportunity, but my family, they love me, they're proud of me, but they don't care about Agile, right? They really,
it's Dad,
yeah,
right?
It's Dad. It's not Agile Bob.
My son, I help out coaching my son's baseball team, but all of the dads that help with that, we have adopted the strategy of, we cannot coach our sons because they will not listen to us because it's Dad. So we talk to each other, and another one of the dads coaches the other son, so that way they'll actually listen to it. They could say the exact same thing Dad's going to say, but it's not coming from Dad. So, yeah.
Oh, Scrum Sarge, he was transferring.
He had a deadline.
Yeah.
So the iron triangle,
and it was an external deadline, so it's out of my control.
Yeah, there was the old iron triangle, right? So the capacity was fixed. There's just two of you.
Oh my God.
The requirements were fixed.
Yeah.
And the timeline was fixed.
Yep.
So yeah. Well, hey, congratulations, Scrum Sarge. That is good.
Well, it's worked out.
Yeah.
So there's no.
No, it's definitely not one size fits all.
There is not a recipe. Trust me.
Although if there is, maybe that marital Gantt chart, maybe we can market that and sell that.
Who suggested Ryan?
Yeah.
Maybe we should get out of the Agile coaching business, Ryan, and get into the marital Gantt chart business.
Oh my gosh!
No,
that sounds
not.
like a whole nother.
You know what? You know what we bitch and whine about Agile coaching being hard.
Yeah.
I think there are things that are harder than what we do.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, there was a show that my wife watched during a period of time called like Bridezillas.
Oh, I've seen snippets of that.
Man, that's just
those.
Yeah. Terrifying.
And they're mean to like people. Mean.
Yeah. Bridezilla, man.
Yeah.
You don't get that label without earning it. Okay. We are going to wrap up. Thank you to everybody for taking part. Arch coming in and asking a million great questions. Thank you. Thank you to everybody that jumped in and helped in all the various ways, shared your opinions, shared your experiences, shared your Twitch Prime subscription, all those things.
Absolutely.
Thank you for making this stream what it can be. And it doesn't happen without you guys. It doesn't happen without our special guest, Bob Galen, chiming in every once in a while.
And Josh invited me.
I did.
That's
not the best idea of my life.
He's a glutton for punishment.
So, all right.
Thank you for having me, Josh.
Thank you, everybody, for swinging in.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Engaging in the discussion.
Arch, nice work.
See you, everyone.